noticed how some endings never really feel like endings? Not because you're obsessed, not because you can't move on, but because something inside you keeps whispering, that can't be all there was. And if that sentence hit a little too hard, then stay with me for a moment. Because what I'm about to talk about isn't about chasing someone who left. It's not about convincing yourself that every breakup is secretly a love story waiting for a second chapter. It's about something much more uncomfortable. The situations where two people walk away, but their emotions don't. And before we go any further, if you've ever watched one of these conversations late at night, trying to understand something you couldn't explain to anyone else, subscribe. Not because you need another channel in your life, but because sometimes hearing the truth at the right moment changes what you do next. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been completely certain a relationship was over, and yet somehow it kept showing up? Not the person, the feeling. You could go days without thinking about her, maybe weeks. You focused on work, you hit the gym, you met other women, life kept moving. But then one random Tuesday, standing in line for coffee or driving home after a long day, there she was. Not physically, emotionally, like a memory you never invited back. And what makes this confusing is that unfinished feelings rarely look dramatic. Movies lie to us about that. They show grand gestures, tears, phone calls, people running through airports. Real unfinished feelings are quieter. They hide inside ordinary moments. They show up when you're finally starting to feel okay. That's what makes them dangerous. Because you start wondering, why am I still thinking about this? Why does it still affect me? Why can't I completely shut the door? And sometimes the answer has nothing to do with missing her. Sometimes it's because your mind knows something your pride refuses to admit. That the emotional story never actually reached its conclusion. See, most men think closure comes from conversations. Psychologically, that's not usually true. Closure comes when your emotional reality matches your external reality, when what happened finally makes sense inside you. But when feelings remain on both sides, the relationship can end while the emotional connection stays suspended, like a bridge that's been abandoned but never destroyed. And here's the strange part. Often both people feel it, at the same time. Neither speaks, neither reaches out, neither knows what to do with it. Yet somewhere beneath the silence, the connection remains alive. Not because love always survives, sometimes it doesn't, but because unresolved emotions don't disappear simply because two people stopped talking. They wait, quietly, patiently. And over time they leave clues, small signs, subtle signals, things most people dismiss because they seem insignificant. But when you understand female psychology, and human psychology in general, you begin to realize something. When two people genuinely have unfinished feelings, the heart almost always reveals itself before the mouth ever does. And the first sign is far more subtle than most men realize. The first sign isn't a message. It isn't a late-night confession. It isn't even an attempt to get back together. It's something far quieter. She never truly disappears. Now be careful with that statement. I don't mean she constantly contacts you. In fact, sometimes the opposite happens. Months can pass without a word. No calls, no texts, nothing obvious. But somehow, she remains present around the edges of your life. And what fascinates me about this is how often men misunderstand it. A man usually thinks in direct lines. If she's interested, she'll reach out. If she's not, she won't. Simple. But emotions rarely operate that way, especially when feelings are unresolved. Imagine this. You ended things because the timing was wrong, or because one of you was scared, or because life became complicated in ways neither of you expected. The relationship ended, but the emotional attachment never fully completed its journey. So now there's distance, but not detachment. And those are very different things. Detachment is peace. Distance is geography. A woman can create distance while still carrying emotional attachment. I've seen it countless times. She checks your profile once in a while, not obsessively, not every day, just enough. She notices changes, new photos, new achievements, the fact that you cut your hair, the fact that you seem happier, or maybe not. She hears your name from mutual friends and listens a little longer than necessary. She pretends it means nothing, but internally, something shifts. The reason this matters isn't because she's secretly planning some grand return. That's where people get lost. The deeper truth is that emotionally finished people stop monitoring the story. They stop needing updates. The chapter closes. The curiosity fades. Life moves forward. When feelings remain unresolved, curiosity remains alive. And curiosity is often the emotional shadow of attachment. But here's the part men rarely consider. You're probably doing it too. Maybe not consciously, maybe not proudly. Yet when someone mentions her name, your attention sharpens. You wonder how she's doing, whether she's happy, whether she ever thinks about you, whether what you shared mattered as much to her as it did to you. You see? That's not about possession, it's not about control, it's about unfinished emotional investment. The mind naturally revisits what feels incomplete. Think about the conversations that still replay in your head, not because they were perfect, because they ended too soon. The questions you never asked, the things you never said, the misunderstandings you never corrected. Those moments create psychological tension. The brain dislikes unfinished narratives, and relationships are the most powerful narratives we ever experience. Which is why two people can separate physically while remaining emotionally connected through invisible threads. Not because they're meant to be together forever, not because fate is forcing them back together, but because neither person has fully processed what the relationship meant. And when that happens, their attention keeps drifting back, like a compass needle that hasn't settled. The interesting thing is that this sign alone doesn't prove anything. Unfinished feelings are not the same as a future relationship. That's important. Sometimes they're simply evidence that two hearts are still trying to understand what happened. But when this sign appears alongside the next one, that's when things become much harder to ignore. Because the second sign isn't about attention, it's about emotional reactions. And those reactions reveal far more than either person wants to admit. The second sign is this: neither of you is emotionally neutral. And that sounds obvious until you really think about it. Because most people assume the opposite of love is hate. Psychologically, it isn't. The opposite of love is indifference. Real indifference is quiet, calm, uncomplicated. It doesn't need explanations. It doesn't need revenge. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply lets go. But unfinished feelings? They create friction, and friction leaves evidence. Maybe you've experienced it. You hear she's dating someone new, and instantly something tightens inside your chest. You tell yourself it shouldn't matter. You tell yourself you've moved on. Maybe part of you genuinely believes that, yet the emotional reaction arrives before logic has a chance to speak. That's the thing about unresolved attachment. It reveals itself faster than your defenses can hide it. Now let's look at the other side. A woman with unfinished feelings often experiences something similar. Not always jealousy in the dramatic sense, something more complicated. She learns you're doing well, and she's genuinely happy for you. But there's also an ache she doesn't fully understand. She sees another woman showing interest in you, and suddenly emotions surface that she thought were gone. Not because she's selfish, not because she wants control, because emotionally unresolved connections remain emotionally relevant, and relevance creates reactions. I remember a conversation with a client years ago. He couldn't understand why his ex seemed completely distant until she saw a photo of him with someone new. Then suddenly she became warmer, more engaged, more present. He interpreted it as manipulation. Maybe sometimes it is, but often it's much simpler. The image forced her to confront feelings she had carefully avoided, feelings she assumed would disappear on their own. They didn't. Because buried emotions don't vanish. They wait. And life has a way of uncovering them when we least expect it. Now here's where things get uncomfortable. Many men spend years pretending they feel nothing because feeling something makes them feel weak. So they build a story. I'm over it. I don't care anymore. It doesn't affect me. Then one unexpected reminder appears. A song, a place, a photograph. And suddenly the emotional reality crashes through the story. Not because they're broken, because they're human. The truth is, unresolved feelings rarely announce themselves through longing. More often they reveal themselves through emotional sensitivity. You care because somewhere inside, the relationship still carries emotional weight. And emotional weight doesn't disappear just because time passes. Time helps, absolutely, but time alone doesn't resolve what was never understood. That's why some people can forget a relationship in 6 months, while others still feel echoes years later. It's not about duration, it's about completion. And when two people both remain emotionally reactive to each other's lives, something important is usually unfinished. Again, that doesn't automatically mean reunion. It doesn't guarantee a happy ending, but it does mean the emotional bond has not fully dissolved. And that's where the third sign begins. Because eventually, unresolved feelings stop showing themselves through reactions. They start showing themselves through behavior. Tiny behaviors. The kind that seem meaningless if you look at them separately. But together, they tell a story neither person intended to reveal. The third sign is subtle enough that most people miss it. Because it doesn't look romantic. It doesn't look dramatic. In fact, if you described it to a friend, he might shrug and say, "That means nothing." But human behavior has a strange way of exposing what the heart is trying to hide. The sign is this. The connection keeps finding reasons to stay alive. Not big reasons, small ones, almost accidental. A message about something practical, a random reaction to a story, a memory that suddenly gets mentioned, a question that technically didn't need to be asked. Nothing significant by itself, but taken together, they create a pattern. And patterns matter. Because when someone has truly reached emotional closure, they stop creating pathways back into your world. Not out of anger, not out of discipline, simply because the need disappears. The emotional investment has been withdrawn. Life naturally redirects their attention elsewhere. But unfinished feelings often behave differently. They look for safe excuses. Not because either person is necessarily trying to restart the relationship, that's too simplistic. Sometimes they're just trying to maintain access to a connection they aren't ready to lose. And that's where things become psychologically fascinating. Because many people don't consciously realize they're doing it. A woman may tell herself she's only checking in as a friend, and part of her genuinely believes that. A man may convince himself he's only being polite, and part of him genuinely believes that too. But beneath those explanations, there's often a quieter truth. Neither person wants the door completely closed. Not yet. I want you to imagine something. Think about a house you once lived in, maybe years ago. You moved out. Your life continued. You built something new. But if someone offered you one last opportunity to walk through that house, just once, you'd probably take it. Not because you want to move back, because part of you still feels connected to what happened there. Relationships can create the same effect. People revisit emotionally significant connections long after they leave them. Not because they're trapped, because meaning leaves fingerprints. And when meaning remains unresolved, people instinctively keep a thread attached. This is why you'll sometimes see two people continue orbiting each other without fully reconnecting. Months pass, maybe years, yet somehow they never become complete strangers. The communication fades, returns, fades again, returns again, like waves touching a shoreline they can never quite leave behind. Now, this is where many men make a mistake. They see these small moments and immediately assume certainty. She still loves me. She's coming back. This proves everything. No, that's not what it proves. Human emotions are more complex than that. What it proves is that the connection still carries emotional significance, and significance matters. Because emotionally neutral people rarely invest energy in maintaining even the smallest bridge. But people with unfinished feelings often do, without realizing it, without planning it, without understanding why. And eventually, if those feelings truly exist on both sides, one final sign begins to emerge. It's the sign that makes people stop and ask themselves the question they've been avoiding for months, maybe even years. Why does this still feel unfinished? And the answer to that question is where everything changes. The fourth sign is the one nobody talks about, because it's harder to measure, harder to prove, and impossible to fake for very long. It's this. Neither of you has been able to replace what the connection actually meant. Notice I didn't say replace the person. That's different. People misunderstand this all the time. You can meet attractive people, date again, build new experiences, even feel genuine happiness. and still recognize that one particular connection left something unfinished inside you. Not because it was perfect. Most meaningful relationships aren't. They are messy, complicated, human. What makes them unforgettable isn't perfection, it's impact. And impact has a way of staying with us. Years ago, I heard a man describe an old relationship in a way I've never forgotten. He said, "I don't miss her every day, but I still haven't met another person who made me feel that honest." That sentence stayed with me, because that's often what unfinished feelings are really about. Not the loss of a person, the loss of a version of yourself that only existed inside that connection. Maybe she saw parts of you nobody else saw. Maybe you felt understood in ways that surprised you. Maybe you became more vulnerable than you ever intended. And when the relationship ended, those experiences didn't disappear. They became part of your emotional history. The same is true for women. Sometimes a woman doesn't miss the relationship itself. She misses how alive she felt inside it, how safe she felt, how challenged she felt, how deeply seen she felt. Those emotional experiences leave marks. And when two people continue comparing every new connection to what they once shared, something important is usually unresolved. Not because nobody else is good enough, because emotional meaning isn't easily duplicated. Now here's the truth I think you need to hear. The fact that feelings remain unfinished does not automatically mean you should go back. Sometimes the healthiest outcome is understanding the connection rather than recreating it. That's an uncomfortable reality. Because many people secretly hope unresolved feelings come with guarantees. They don't. Sometimes unfinished feelings exist so you can finally understand what mattered, what you ignored, what you learned, what you needed, what you were afraid of. And sometimes, yes, sometimes two people grow enough to meet each other again with different eyes, different maturity, different awareness. But that outcome can never be forced. The moment you try to force it, you stop listening to what the feelings are actually trying to teach you. And maybe that's why you're here. Not because you're looking for permission to hold on, not because you're searching for false hope. Maybe you're simply trying to understand why a connection still lives somewhere inside you, why it still appears in quiet moments, why it still matters. If you've recognized these 4 signs, the lingering presence, the emotional reactions, the invisible pathways that never fully disappeared, the inability to replace what the connection truly meant, then perhaps the real question isn't whether it's over. Perhaps the real question is whether you fully understood what that relationship came into your life to show you. Because sometimes the heart doesn't keep returning to a memory because it wants the past back. Sometimes it keeps returning because there's still a truth hidden inside it. A truth you've been avoiding. A truth you've almost admitted to yourself 100 times. And maybe, just maybe, tonight is the first time you've been honest enough to finally look at it.